Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that if you're returning. How you doing? Grab that coffee. Maybe a snack or two. Put a pillow behind your back. Sit back and relax. And let's get into it. So, it is a safe bet to believe that anytime the demon rats propose something, the real purpose behind it is to gain more control over Americans. And why? Because at its heart, the Democratic Party is really counter-revolutionary. And there's other words I could use, but I won't go there. So that's why the potato regimes push for this digital dollar, right? And the UBI and all that we've been discussing for well over a year should be opposed by all of us, all Americans, okay? Regardless of their political beliefs. I don't care if you're left, right, Democrat, Republican, in the middle, up, down, I don't care if you're sideways, this way, that way. Oppose it. Okay? Now, when 44, all right, and majority of the Democrats were pushing for that universal health care, remember Obamacare? And then if you didn't have it, you got taxed, right? They took your tax returns. Remember that? That was completely controlled by the government. Tens of millions of Americans opposed the idea because they didn't want an inefficient, bloated, authoritarian federal system to control their health care. And who would? You don't want them to control your health care. You don't want them to control your health care decisions. But not just that. If you're a guy and you had down here we knew it as Florida Blue, you still had to pay coverage for stuff that you were never going to use. Why? Because you were a guy and not a girl. Yeah. So, now that seems odd now, right? Given that there are complaints about the U.S. Supreme Court's decision earlier this summer about the overturn, not to outlaw the procedure, if you will, but to return the issue to the states where it should have stayed in the first place. And the push for Obamacare by the authoritarian left was simple. They knew that every American at various points in their lives, and you can attest to this to yourself as well, will need health care. Gaining control of the entire industry would mean that the government would control it completely, giving bureaucrats life and death power over all of us. Unless, of course, you could afford private health care, right? Like I have, through my husband's work, he's got Blue Cross Blue Shield Federal Employee Program. And I'll never forget for as long as I live. I was with my primary care physician for 15 years, and he dropped me like a hot potato. Why? He said, because Blue Cross Blue Shield doesn't pay out fast enough. So what did I do? I had to go find another primary care physician. And with all of my disabilities, you know how much of a bitch that is? So I finally found one, female doctor, sweet as pie, love her to death. But when I first initially went there, and they said, they found out I had Blue Cross Blue Shield, they said, wait a minute. It's not that Florida Blue, is it? I said, no. I said, it's federal employee program. They said, oh, thank God. I said, why? We don't take Florida Blue. We don't take that Obamacare. I said, well, you ain't got to worry about that with me. Okay? So, believe me, it's, but I know a lot of people that got dropped from their doctors, even from specialists, because they no longer accepted their health care coverage because the healthcare provider, insurance company couldn't pay out fast enough. Yeah. But no one should want it, right? In any event, enough Americans opposed Obamacare. So all we ended up with was an expensive new welfare program for our citizens. Subsidized insurance for a smaller group of Americans that is still controlled by federal bureaucrats. But Obamacare was simply the first bite of the apple, that poisonous apple, that the witch gave to, what was it, Snow White. Democrats continue to plot ways to destroy public health care by pushing various regulatory schemes to impose more rules over providers and insurances alike. Now, the regime, they want control over our money, which is another vital tool in the authoritarian playbook. A white paper published on the White House website called The Creation of the Digital Dollar. You seen that yet? That, of course, will be controlled by the government, much like the government currently has the sole role of responsibility to develop and print our currency, real dollars. But the difference here is that if all money was digital, the government could and would. But, and there's always a but the difference here is that if all money was digital, the government could and would monitor our bank accounts, monitor all of our transactions, impose barriers to purchases of certain unfavorable items, even block access to our money or limit how much of it we can spend. You want that? Who does? And it's supposed to be all for the greater good, of course. Now, a United States Central Bank Digital Currency, or CBDC, as it's better known as, would be a digital form of the United States dollar. While the U.S. has not yet decided whether it will pursue a CBDC, the U.S. has been closely examining the implications and options for issuing CBDC. And the White House policy paper notes before touting the digital dollar's benefits. And if the U.S. pursued CBDC, there could be many possible benefits, like facilitating efficient and low-cost transactions, fostering greater access to the financial system, boosting economic growth, and blah, blah, blah. Now, however, a U.S. CBDC could also introduce a variety of risks, as it might affect everything ranging from the stability of the financial system to protecting of sensitive data. At last year's Summit for Democracy, Potato spoke about the importance of using technology to advance democracies, to lift people up and not hold them down. And if the U.S. launches its own CBDC, it could advance the democratic vision. Again, Democrats always mean to the opposite of what they say, and they speak of democracy while working daily to undermine it with gun control, packing the Supreme Court, ending the filibuster, finding ways to alter our electoral process so that their candidates will always come out on top. A digital dollar is just part of the never-ending scheme to rob Americans of our independence and our liberty. Giving Uncle Sam more control of our lives is just dumb. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I love you. I'll see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless. Ciao.